We're back at the 2007 Ford F550, getting ready to drain and flush. Actually, I've already done the draining, captured as much antifreeze as I could in containers. So at this point, I'm going to flush it out. I put a little hose adapter here to the heater hose, and I'm going to open up the block plug and flush out as much as I can from that point. Then I'll close the block plug and open or disconnect the bottom heater hose again and flush that out. Technically, I probably should go for the block plug underneath the starter, but I think that's a lot of work, and I'm not seeing any indication that it's extremely clogged or you know, from the fluid that I drained out already. It looks pretty dang good for antifreeze. So I think just another flush here will do it. Then I'm going to run some Motorcraft product through it, and I can't remember the exact name of it. VC9, VC10, something like that. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to be replacing the oil cooler and the EGR cooler. There's no indication that the head gaskets are bad in any manner. I've already done a I guess you'd say a pressure check, and we've got no indication that the heads are going bad. This is just a preemptive strike, because usually it's the oil cooler causing the EGR cooler, or vice versa, to go bad, which then of course causes the head gaskets to blow out. And so I don't have really a major indication of the oil cooler and EGR cooler going bad, other than they're aged and it's about time. So I'm going to do, like I said, a preemptive strike on that, and there's a couple other things I wanted to do just to clean up. I got to get a I think it's a Marston clamp on the back of the turbo replaced, and just need to get a general indication of what's going on underneath there. I'm also replacing the fuel pressure regulator, that blue spring upgrade that I've read about, so I'll be taking care of that also. And of course, we got rain coming in right now. That's always the fun part of working in Florida. We'll be back. Here's the left-hand side drain plug hole at the moment. I've already pulled the plug. It's underneath the left-hand driver's side. Okay, looking up from underneath the radiator, you got 2 points that you can drain it. One is the actual drain valve, which will be on the left-hand side of the radiator underneath. I tried to not use it because, once again, it's plastic. They get brittle over time. O-rings stick. Just plastic never works out well after time. So what I do is just disconnect the lower radiator hose and drain it from that point. It's a little bit more sloppier, but it works better. You have less problems. Okay, the first quart of VC9 is going in. Now, put some water in it, then I'll go for the second quart. By the way, it's Motorcraft VC9. It's fairly expensive, but it's probably worth it. Alright, I pulled the thermostat out. Thermostat itself, no problem. The housing had extreme residue, top and bottom. The O-ring also, not even know how it was sealing, to tell you the truth. Just a lot of residue. And inside the bottom portion of the housing, a lot of residue on the top mating surface, which I'm cleaning now. So once we get this cleaned up, I'll put the housing back on without the thermostat, and then of course run it for an hour with the VC9, and we'll be back. Alright, the last flush, I finally got clear water, no floaters, so we're good there. So right now I'm starting to pull components off the top here to gain access to the oil cooler. Got the air filter box out right now. Well, this cold air intake tube was miserable trying to get it off at the lowest point, so I found it easier just to pull the battery box out. It was only 4 screws, 13 mil. Went pretty easy. So, well, I'm running out of daylight, so decided to take a break till tomorrow. So got most of the initial radiator tubes removed. Got the cold air inlet removed. Got the alternators off. I did loosen up the turbo, the clamps on the rear, and I removed the oil drain tube, and of course the CAC tube is gone. And at this point I think I'm just going to call it quits for the day. I'll come back, I'll get more daylight and I'll be able to see. So, alright, got the shroud figured out. Basically just disconnected the radiator by removing these 2 brackets, pulled it back a little bit, and at that point I discovered I was missing 2 bolts up here that normally go right here and here, but on the bottom they were 15 millimeter 2 bolts. Once you get those out, then you can pull the middle shroud portion out, and this is loose enough that you can pull it back just to give you more access room here, help maneuver when you get to the point of pulling the intake out. Alright, got the ficum out, got the injectors disconnected, and they were much easier than I expected. All you have to do is press down on the wire clip and it expands away from the flat spots, and then you can just pull it straight out. Although reaching that last one, I don't know, I'll call it number 4 or number 8, I'm not sure. It was that was a pain in the butt because he had to stretch quite a bit. Now I don't have long arms, and there is one ground here that goes into a stud in the back there. I don't know if you can see it. So disconnecting the wiring harness has been pretty uneventful. Everything's coming apart quite well, although I wish they'd be a little bit more consistent with the type of connectors and the method of disconnecting. You got to figure out quite a few different types, but it's all happening. Otherwise, everything's disconnected. Although I've got one sensor back here, I think. That's got to come off. And yes, got this side done. So, got to work on this next. Alright, I think I've got everything disconnected. All the fuel lines. Got the 4 T45 bolts out. This should slide out, which it is. Alright. Yep, let's go here. So there's the rest of the wiring harness that was buried underneath of it. So I can now get that out of the way. Alright, I think I've got it all. That one connection in the back is right here. It's got a wire clip, and whoever put it on last did not attach the wire clip, or it came off later. I'm not sure. So let's see what we can do about digging this out of here, getting it out of the way. So we got 2 pieces here. This over this. Get this over this. And I still have an injector to pop off. How did that happen? I do not know. I thought I got them all. So, as I said earlier, if you just press down on the wire clip, you can pull them off. There we go. Alright, I got the turbo mount First turbo drain pipe out. Got a lot of oil down here, more than I should have. So obviously it's leaking from the turbo drain. And I've had this out and I replaced this not too long ago, driving time wise. I don't know if you can see in this light. I hope you can. The O-ring, both of them. Now, did I twist them going in, or is the O-ring rubber just degraded by heat or vibration? I'm not positive. I don't think I rolled it. It was really hard to get out, like it had a really good seal, but they're not good. So I'm gonna have to investigate that. Go back to see where I got it. If it was a reliable source, then I'll have to just believe it was my fault for not getting them in correctly. I don't know. Anyway, mount's good. No issues there, of course. Just a big chunk of metal. Turbo already got sat inside the cab. So next step is clean, clean, and clean. Make sure everything's clean before I start pulling the intake off. We'll be back. Well, I got it mainly cleaned out. I use compressed air to blow out in the valleys, get all the loose debris out. Mainly so when you pull the intake, you don't have any dirt falling into the intake holes or ports. So the rest of it I'll clean after I get the intake out. And it's just a little bit of grease, oil, etc. But I got all the loose stuff out for sure. And that's the next step. Let's pull the intake. And before I forget, just for the gee whiz factor, I did mark the locations, the head studs instead of just bolts. So used a bit of fingernail polish. Not my favorite color, but one I had that was laying around. This, I don't know what this is, some type of strap. It's a hanger for a fuel line. Alright, hanger for fuel line, and I think that's it. That looks to be about a 10. Yep. Okay, I couldn't film it. It was a bit of a struggle for me, having to use both hands and knees and legs and everything else to get this puppy out, but it came out. And I haven't touched anything since I pulled it out. So we still got a possibility of, even though I cleaned it out best I could of debris, I mean, right here we got like lizard poop and various other leftovers of sealant or the gasket. So we have to be very careful here. I think what I'm going to do is, after I clean this up, I'm going to get the shop vac and suck out the ports. I don't have a belief that anything fell in, but just to be on the safe side, I think everything got caught on the edges, which is good. And see if I can get place for the light here. These wire loom holders seem to have disintegrated and fallen in. Then on this side, another piece of plastic, which is probably from up here. Intake itself, well, it's dirty. It's got a lot of crap on the inside. I don't know if you can see. I'd like to get that cleaned out. I'm not positive how to do it really. Soak it. Once I start loosening it up, that's going to be the problem. I got to get it completely clean then. Huh, interesting. So I'll have to read up on this one, see what other people are doing. Might be best not to touch it at all. So this is all the larger debris that was basically underneath the intake. Possibly off an injector connector, although all the connectors that I obviously disconnected had the clip on it, so either was from a previous or might be from another type of connector. I didn't see any that were missing. Unknown pieces of plastic, lots of wire loom holder going on a stud, but I believe majority of these plastic pieces are off that that kind of shroud, plastic shroud, the top of the firewall area. I don't know what you call it. This thing right here, because it's just falling to pieces. Alright, here it is after the first cleaning. I got most of the, well, definitely all of the loose debris out. There's still spots where the embedded grease and oil is going to stay, but I think this is going to be good enough. I still got to clean the mating surfaces up for the gasket on the intake manifold, but at least I can see what's going on here a lot better in preparation of pulling the oil cooler. There we go. There we go. I don't think I missed any. Got that one, yeah, I think that's it. By the way, this Hercules Harbor Freight, one of the best purchases I have made in life. So, works great. Alright, got all the bolts loosened up, removed them so they don't drop into the nether regions, and let's go do some simple prying here, I hope. There we go. Yeah, it's quite loose. Back here, yeah, it's loose. And I can smell burnt oil smell pretty distinctively. Yeah. Here we go. Gasket's coming off. All right. Just since it's been a long time, I don't trust anything. I'll be cleaning this entire well out. I'm going to use a turkey baster, I guess. Just pull it out best I can, then wipe it down. I want to make sure there's no debris in there that shouldn't be. Messy puppy.